Hi, and welcome to the Hudson webinar for, March 28th, 2024. I am Katie Hawkins from Unbridled Equine, and I am coming live to you today from Pinnacle Rehab Center in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is where Unbridled Equine Rehab is now located out of. And today's going to be fun because we're going to do some live demos. I've been wanting to bring this portion to the webinar because it's really easy to talk about horses in particularly, but the aquapacer in a theoretical way. In an ideal world, we want the horse just to walk right on, and then they water tread like a little saint, and then we walk them right off and we get the next one on, and it's that easy. But we all know in reality when we do this work that it just is never that simple, and horses are always keeping us humble. So today what we're going to do is talk about some tips and tricks for getting horses loaded and unloaded from the water treadmill. So we're going to start. I have 2 or 3 horses that we can work on today. And along that, I want you guys to go ahead and ask questions as I go as well. I have it as quiet as I can in the barn right now, as far as horses being outside and such. But if you have any trouble hearing me, I'll just pause and then, because once we bring the horse in, it might be a little louder. But we're going to have our first horse. Her name is Kalina, and Kalina is joining us. She is an older warm blood that is here working on her fitness prior to breeding, but she also is ridden as well. And Kalina has only been on the water. She's only walked through the water treadmill once. So she is brand new to this. She walked through it yesterday just to see it. And it was interesting. She had some feelings about it, but I wanted to show you guys realistically a horse that hasn't really seen it before. And, it's not brand new, but it's definitely new to her. And so this will be her second time seeing it today. So we're going to be able to see how she does with loading and unloading today. And then the horse I'm going to have after that is a horse named Monroe. Actually 2 gray mares today, which is really funny. I didn't plan it that way. But we're going to have another mare. Her name is Monroe, and she is an older warm blood. And she is here with kind of an unknown left hind injury of some sort. She just came out of her stall just completely lame about 2 months ago. And she came to us, ironically, her owner is a vet, and nothing frustrates vets more than when they can't figure out what's wrong. And they could not figure out between x-raying and ultrasounding what was going on with her. And they didn't want to take it to the point of doing an MRI. And so they're thinking it's something left hind and maybe a muscle tear, maybe something soft tissue, maybe a tendon or ligament. But with stall rest, she was improving so much that the vet felt like, okay, let's go ahead and have her start water treading and doing rehabbing. So she's been with us about 3 weeks now, and she is a mare that was complicated to teach her how to get on the water treadmill. She is very smart but is flighty and has a rear to her. So if you've ever worked with horses that like to rear, that adds a whole new element of fun and safety, because my worry personally is always, okay, are they going to make that decision when pushed in the water treadmill to pop up, which then means they're going to be popping up towards the person that's up in the front working the touch screen. And so we took our time with her. She definitely has to make the decision on her own, and she doesn't like being pushed and told what to do, which I love. That's a girl after my own heart. She's got to do what she wants to do. And what's cool is once we used the protocol, did it slowly, introduced her to each element. Well, I have someone that wants to get on. Hopefully they can find the link. Hey, Jess, I'm going to send the person's name to you so you can send them the webinar link. And so with Monroe, it was really using the protocol, but slowing it down so that she could, all right, Jess, I'm going to text that to you. So she could understand each element and not feel overwhelmed or that she couldn't comprehend what's going on. So I feel like her flight response is very quick, and she is nervous, but her nerves come out like unexpectedly. So she's not one that's like prancing around. She's one that's like quiet and then flight comes on. And so she was an interesting one when we started moving it. So she was okay with the water. She accepted that pretty well. And then we kept the water really low and we started running the tread at the beginning for her to understand the movement of the tread. And that was really hard for her to understand. She almost forgot that she had legs to walk. So she would ride it back and then kind of run forward and ride it back and run forward. So we had to get her, what was hard was we almost had to bump up the speed really fast to get her where she had to start walking. Because if it was too slow, she would just ride the treadmill back, even though the slowness was going to give her the ability to kind of control how fast she could move her legs. So she was an interesting one to train. She is still interesting to get on and off the tread. She gets on with her own when she's ready. And when she feels ready, she also kind of pops up the ramp to, thank you, Jess. She kind of pops up instead of walking up the ramp. So if you see behind me, our setup is where they will walk up here. And then you see there's a little step where the door comes above the floodgate. And that little step, she likes to kind of hop up. Which always, adds an element of surprise. And then after she hops up, when she comes down, we say that she comes down hot. Like she comes off the treadmill with a lot of speed. We tried backing her off, which is an option too, when a horse comes off really fast, the front of the tread. And that was just way too much for her brain to comprehend and really worried her. Luckily, we have not had an issue. I'm going to knock on wood. We have not had an issue with her popping up at all. The only time she did it was when she would ride the tread back. She'd pop up to come forward, almost like her front legs were stuck together. And once she started to walk, she didn't do any of that anymore. So I'm bringing you interesting ones today. Like I'm not bringing you like our good old guys that get on the treadmill. Of course, they're mares. I hate that. But I'm bringing you ones that are going to show their personality and you're going to show kind of the tips and tricks that you need. And then if we have time and we're able to do the third one is an older gelding. It's funny because age has nothing to do with if they're good or bad on the water treadmill. He's an older gelding. Again, another warm blood. We have a lot of warm bloods right now. And he is one that he gets nervous about where he has an old injury on his right hind leg, and he is very much about self-preservation. So he gets worried about where his feet are as far as like wanting to feel secure and stable. And so it was hard for him to comprehend getting up there in the way that he kind of struggles getting up on trailers. And he's a lesson horse. So like, this is a dude that like, he's easygoing and has a great personality, but he's challenged getting up on trailers. So we knew that. I always take into consideration too, when they have trouble loading and unloading, thinking about their vision. I know that's something we kind of gloss over at times, but could there be anything going on with vision? And that's where they get a little hesitant when they have to look down and maybe their vision isn't the best. So he's another one that the training for him took a little bit of time. And now that he's gotten it, he's been rocking it. So our first horse is here. This is Miss Colina. And like I said, she has only done this once yesterday. And I have two people helping me today. Some of you may know Kayla Talkington. Kayla comes with me, actually came with me from Chicago. And Kayla comes with me for any trainings we do on site at other people's facilities for water treadmill. And then Brittany is with us. Brittany works here at the rehab center. She's also a student at the University of Arkansas, and she rides for the ranch team at the University of Arkansas. So she's a great horsewoman, just like Kayla. And they're going to be helping me out with loading and unloading these horses so I can talk to you guys. So Colina is all cleaned up. She's ready to go. So her feet have been picked out. She's been washed off from the tummy down. Her tail is braided up, just as though she were going to water tread today. We want her to kind of learn the routine. So I'm going to back up this so that you guys can see the entryway. And I kept the other garage doors that we have closed today so that there's no distractions outside. We don't need to add any. All right, we're going to load Colina. She's a beautiful girl. All right, so Brittany's making sure that the door is open to give her as much space as possible. Good. So a lot of this is going to be horse led so that she feels like she has the ownership to get on. So right now she's kind of checking everything out. Good girl. It's not uncommon for them to miss that step. Yeah, good. For them to miss that step and worry. Good girl. Nice, nice. Good. So she's loaded on now, and we're going to make her stand there for a minute and kind of take a breath and learn that people are going to be standing on this ledge. Everything is okay. And that there's going to be stuff moving. People are going to be talking, but we're petting her and letting her be calm. But we're also teaching her patience on the tread right now. Good. So what I wanted you to see when she got on there was that she decided to take that step. Kayla was kind of off to the side, helping guide her straight onto the treadmill. Brittany also brought her in straight. So that's important. We need to give them a good line of sight that when they get onto the ramp here, they're already coming from a straight away approach so they can see the entire tread. And then you saw she kind of got her willpower. She wanted to go up there. She got a little worried. She tried to take the step. She hit it, and then she backed off. We don't pressure them more when they back off because that's them kind of saying, ooh, that made me a little nervous. That scared me. Give them a sec. Let her think about it. And then again, she made the decision to go forward, and Brittany just walked right up on the ramp with her, and she did a great job. So now, again, this is just her second time in there. She's taking a breath, and we're going to go ahead and unload her. I'm going to move my poop bucket so it's not in the way. So Kayla's going to get down. Oh yeah, she's shedding. I don't know about y'all, but we got a lot of horses shedding over here. All right, so she's going to go ahead and Kayla's going to come around front. The door is open. She's going to make sure it's all the way open and slowly, patiently, beautiful. She's waiting. So the patience is happening, which I love. We want her to navigate down. And then here's a really important part, having them circle back to the handler and get pats and let her know what a good girl she is, but not letting them kind of run off and run away from you. We want them to think about circling back to the main handler and getting real big hugs and kisses and let her know what a good job she did. Now she's going to come around and do it again. And this time we're going to try to close the doors and see what she thinks. Helena didn't know she was going to be on a webinar today. She just gave everyone a look. Like, I didn't know this. All right, so let's see what she thinks this time. Nice, that was beautiful. So she felt really brave that time. She kind of knew she needed to pick her feet up. You saw her lift her feet really high and navigate that. Good, so Kayla did not lock the door. She just pushed it closed. So if anything were to go on, she could easily open it. Good, and what I'm interested in right now, since she walked on so relaxed, I want to know from Brittany, what's her demeanor right now while she's in there? She's pretty relaxed. Okay. So she's pretty relaxed in there, which is great. So she's not feeling nervous. If we were to see a horse that was really worried when they're in there, usually they're kind of pacing back and forth with their legs, or you'll even see them kind of shake with their muscles. Their fast twitch muscles come on board and they start getting really nervous about their surroundings and what they're in. She is kind of looking off to the side to check out what's going on, but overall her demeanor is relaxed. She's standing there nicely. I would say we leave her in there a minute or so. We let her know what a good girl she is. She's doing such a good job. She's being nice and relaxed. This is a win in my view. As far as her second time on there, she got on there even more willingly the second time around. This session, the second time around, and she really is quite quiet in there. I'm going to move the camera so you guys can see her unload now. So hold on, I'm wheeling you. Okay, so now we're on the unloading side. And we're probably going to get a little bit close as she comes off because we do have a wall at the end that has all of our tanks and everything on the other side of it. But why don't you guys go ahead and unload her? Nice and slow and relaxed. And ideally, Brittany can step down like that and then lead her off. Beautiful. Perfect. And circle her back to her. Love it. All right, let's load her one more time and actually close the doors this time. All right, I'm gonna wheel you back. All right, so let's watch her feet. Good, beautiful. We're gonna close the door all the way. Nice. Good, now she's getting a little bit more curious as we go. Good girl. So both doors are completely closed. She's nice and relaxed in there. She's actually wondering kind of what's next at this point. So she's being really, really good. And I wouldn't push it. I'd go ahead and say that's a win. She did awesome. Kayla can unlock the front door. She can unload again. And for her today, as far as our goal was to have her load and unload quietly and close the doors, this was a complete win. Good girl. Again, Brittany comes down, patiently coming off. Nice, beautiful. Excellent. Good girl. Really good. All right, Colina. Good. So as Colina's second time, we can go ahead and bring Monroe out. Thanks, ladies. All right, so for Colina's second time doing this, seeing the water treadmill and loading and unloading on it, she was an absolute rock star. Which, I mean, I didn't know what she was gonna be like. She's a pretty easygoing girl, but you never know with this. Couple things I want you to know. The first time she got on, the idea of really giving her space to make the decision to step up, encouraging that. And the second piece is when she kind of hit it, didn't quite get her footing right, and she backed off, giving her the space to back off and just taking a moment, taking a beat, letting her have that, and then encouraging her to come on again, which was her decision. She came on, and then you saw the second time we loaded, she right away was like, no, I can do this, I understand, but she picked up her feet really high. And so to know that, okay, they're gonna maybe overcompensate a little bit for running into something, but that's okay because they're figuring it out. I'm so happy with her. So that's why we went ahead. She was calm and relaxed in there. We shut the doors, but didn't lock them on either side. And why, again, why I do that is so if they are upset, we're able to open the doors, or they could even open them if they run off. She was relaxed in there though. In coming off, I feel like the biggest issue people run into is when they have to step off of this ramp. We have a little wooden step behind it, but stepping off of that, if the horse is coming off while you're doing that, that's not safe. I don't know about you, but that would be a lot of multitasking for me. And so what we like to do is train them to be patient. The door opens, we step down, and then we ask them to come off. Monroe is going to be a good example of one that struggles with that. So sometimes we stay up on the ramp and she comes out. Sometimes we're able to step down and then she comes down. It just depends what we have with her when she comes out. We really don't know. She's different. Her demeanor is a little different every day. And then on the third time, actually shutting the doors on her, she was relaxed. She was kind of getting bored with what we were doing, which is okay. And so we just shut the doors, told her what a good girl she was, opened them back up. She came off really relaxed, circled back, knew that she was going to circle back to the lead handler, Brittany, which I really like that when they know, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is the routine of what I'm doing. What I would do with, so I would call that a training session. Like I would leave that. The first day we just introduced it. She walked in it and walked out a couple times. We left it at that. Day two, okay, this was day two today. She did awesome with loading and unloading. She was relaxed while she was standing in there. Beautiful. Done. That was awesome. You did great, Colina. Good job. Tomorrow, I like to come back to it each day because I think they remember it well with that. And so tomorrow, I think what we would go ahead and do is again, lead her in, close the doors the first time. If she's relaxed with that, I'd probably have us go ahead and add some water to it. And I would not move the floor. I would actually just introduce her to the water. If she is relaxed in the water, I would use warm water. I would let her just kind of see that what's coming up below her is water. I usually notice that once they understand it's water, they stick their head down in it and kind of move their nose in it and check it out. That's when they realize like, oh, I know what the substance is. It's not going to eat me. If she was calm with that and not pacing at all, I'd leave it at that. Great. Drain the water, maybe raise it up to below her knee even. I'm going to check if Monroe's here. I don't want to miss her because she's fun to watch load. Maybe bring it up to her knee and, oh, just the hose. Maybe bring it up to her knee and let her, that would take about 2-ish minutes to fill to that, maybe a little below her knee. Let her check it out and then drain it. So that would take maybe 4 or 5 minutes, and then let it drain and let her out, have her come off again, unload quietly, and call that a win because she checked out the water. She got on and on quietly. So we're building upon the skills that they learned the day before. And then if she was calm with the water, I'd go ahead the 4th day, so the day after that, saying, okay, so she got the water, she's loading and unloading, she's still saying calm. Now I'm going to try and move the floor. So if I think that she's one that I need to really break it down, I'm going to make it where the tread is just minimally wet, and I'm going to start running the tread in a way so she can start understanding she needs to move her feet. And if she's been on a dry treadmill before, or it's something she just picks up quickly, I'm going to go ahead and have her walk. If she's getting it, I'm actually not going to call it that day. I'm going to go ahead and add the water in because I want to keep in her memory that the day before we did water and that that's still going to happen. So once she understands that the floor is moving and she's getting that rhythm going, not riding it back and kind of running forward or missing her step, I want her to have a rhythm. Once she has a rhythm, start adding that water in. I usually start with hot water just to not, unless the horse has an injury where I need to do cold, I will start with hot, just to make it a little more comfortable for them. Sometimes the cold can be a little bit like shocking, or they're not expecting it, or they try to drink it and they're like, oh, that was really chilly. I don't understand that. So I usually start with hot, and then I would go ahead and just have them walk, and I would raise it to a level probably, again, knee or below, just something so they're like splashing through the water and understanding that they're walking and there's water in there. And then, I don't know, I'd make that, maybe 7 minutes, maybe 5 to 6, somewhere in there. So that I fill it up, they're walking, we drain it, they're walking. Again, we want them to be relaxed, stay quiet, start to figure out their speed, and then have them, again, walk off, unload quietly. That would be kind of like, okay, this is where I envision a training in subsequent days looking like. And that would be in an ideal situation of a horse learning it. And then from there, I would just keep going. They're water treading, keep it going. They're doing great. Just keep on that same idea of each step. Okay, I want you to load on quietly. Great. Now you're on. We're going to close the doors. We're going to stay relaxed, stay patient. Now we're going to go ahead and start moving the floor. If you have it kind of pre-filled so that you can start moving your floor first. Otherwise, turn on the water, get it high enough where you can start moving the floor. They're walking, the water starts coming up. Perfect. We want them to keep moving because movement is going to keep their brain from overthinking the water. So great. We're going to get them moving. Awesome. They're moving. We're water treading. Again, starting off with a time frame that's appropriate for what they're doing and what their injury would need. So, and their fitness level. So if they are just coming back from stall rest, they might be just at 5 minutes, and that's fine. They need to do what is best for them so that they keep that ideal posture that we've talked about before in a webinar, where they're engaging their top line, they're engaging their hind end, their head is in the middle, they're not leaning to one side or the other, they're not bouncing off the sides. We want them in ideal posture. That's going to be our indication for how long we need them to tread and when we need to start draining when they're losing that ideal posture. And then once we let them out, they unload quietly, beautifully. We got a session. Now we're rolling where I would say they're just water treading. Things that could, I'll make sure, if anyone has any questions, first of all, about, who did we just do? Kalina. about Kalina going on and off, you can ask or you can put them in the chat, and I'm more than happy. I'll pop the chat up so I can see if anyone asks any questions. But you can ask questions about her or questions you may have leading up into the next one. If you want to know, maybe like, oh, I want to see this or that with this horse, let us know and we can try to do that. So Christy, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. So I've got a horse that I put in that she always tilts her head to the left. Always.
So
And
with those,
like how do I do that?
I have an idea. With those, if you have an extra person, can you have someone go on the right side? So I've done double lead ropes and trained a horse that it doesn't have to be forever, but for like 2 or 3 sessions, having someone on the right side and the left side, all of a sudden they're like, oh, and they start to like check out the other person. And then for some reason that takes away the excitement of the person on the left so much, and they seem to even out more. I couldn't say exactly why that's worked for me, but my ones that want to like walk like this the whole time, when we have someone hold that right side for a handful of sessions, it seems to get their attention, understanding that it's safe and okay to be over on the right side too. Is that something feasible for you?
Yeah, well, and I've done that, and I've done it where like I'll get her going. And I mean she's good in the tread, and I'll go on the other side.
Perfect.
And then the other handler or the
Your support.
is still in the back. She still looks to the left. Like, yeah.
What's her injury or
She doesn't have, she just actually one of mine. She's a cow horse and a cut horse.
do you
And
notice that she does that under saddle?
they all, so when you ride in the cow horse, you
Yep.
always look to the inside, and look like they always are looking to the inside, but it's not always the left side. Sometimes it's the left, sometimes it's the right. So I don't know if maybe just that left side is her more dominant side, and that's why she's just looking to the left.
That's what I'm
So,
thinking.
yeah,
Thinking you're seeing a little bit of a compensation pattern in her too, that she uses her neck for balance.
probably, yeah.
And that could correlate into, well, a couple things. It could be proprioception, so where she pictures her body as in space. She actually thinks that when she does this, she's walking straight or she feels straight. So
Oh
it could
yeah,
be a little bit of a proprioception thing. It could be a balance thing where she feels comfortable having her neck to the left for balance. And that could be a compensation piece. It also could be that she is weak in her hind end and she's leaning on her front end and she just happens to lean that way. That would be my thought process, as far as you can't fix it right away, but are we working with other pieces that are showing themselves by her turning to the left?
yeah. I just kind of like have that other person on the other side and just like continually keeping her head straight to try
Yeah.
to, if it is a compensation, something.
That's going to help it. I mean, if you get that person on the right side and when she's leaning left, encouraging her just with the lead rope to straighten out, that alone could be her learning to fix those compensation patterns. And that's just going to take time of you doing that, you know, multiple sessions of her doing that, let's say 10 sessions,
Yeah.
and seeing if that angle starts to decrease a little by little. It also would be a good one to video and kind of keep a gauge of, okay, what do I see when we're videoing her? You know, you're in the front. So like, what are we seeing from the side? What are we seeing from the back, to kind of see, is there compensation elsewhere? And we're just seeing the neck
Yeah.
above. But she would be an interesting case study one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's pretty interesting.
Oh, you gotta love those. All
Yeah.
right, I've got Monroe. Let's get her going. I'm gonna close the chat just to open up the screen a little bit more so you can see her. So I said Monroe's our kind of funky, interesting girl. So let's see what kind of mood she's in today. Oh, lots of snorting already. I know, we changed things up, sweetheart. It's okay. All right, that's good.
See the camera.
Yeah, do you want to see yourself? Sorry, I didn't introduce you. This is Monroe. She's feeling like she got put on the spot. There she goes. Good. Okay. So we're going to talk about that in a minute because Monroe is not patient. They're going to go ahead and tread her since she's on. And for Monroe, doing it multiple times is not her favorite thing. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch a little bit of her treading, and then we can talk a little bit about her loading and then unloading. And if you have questions, since it's loud when the tread's on, go ahead and put them in the chat. And it looks like she's doing hot today. So we're working a little bit more on her fitness and her top line. And what height is she going to? Okay, so we're doing above the hawk today. Could you back her up a hair so we can see her hind legs? Perfect. I'm totally going to ask you guys questions about what you're seeing. All right, tell her when you're going to unload her. Okay. Okay, so I want to talk a bit about her while she's treading. I'm going to come this way so you can hear me. Okay, so with her getting on, what did you notice about her getting on, what she wanted to do with her body? And why that support person is so important? Does anyone want to raise their hand? Probably not, right? Okay. All right. So she wanted to push her body off to the side, the left side, to avoid getting on the tread. So that's not uncommon for her. She does kind of avoid it at first. I think some of that is nerves, some of that is just personality for her. That's where that support person really comes into play. So Brittany was a support person, and she wasn't forcing, she was holding a boundary. So it was like, no, honey, you don't get to come off to the side. And so she wanted to kind of go up the ramp and off to the side. And that's where having that front person still leading her forward, and then that support person really putting that boundary in place of, no, you're not going to run off the side, run towards us. And then she backed up, she had to take her back, start over, get her straight. And then the second time through, she kind of thought about that left lean. And then again, that boundary was there and she went, oh, never mind. I'll go ahead and get on. And she didn't even do her hop that time. She did just step on, which for her is really, really good. And then you can see, because she is a horse, that patience is not her strong suit. It really went to, okay, she's on, she's calm. The front door was already closed, I believe. Because she is pretty good about loading with the front door closed. If you have a horse that after training, I mean, she's been here now 3 weeks, and it probably took us a week or so. Yeah, probably a week to train her, maybe 7 days total. Once we got her on and she was comfortable, then having the front door closed is not a problem. It just saves you some time. And so it's just shutting the behind door and go ahead and get the session started. Now, what did you notice with her walking? Did anyone notice anything interesting? This is like my favorite part, watching them go and like being a detective. I'm gonna wait you out. You don't even have to say it. You can just type it in the chat. I'll take you back over there. So, yeah, Shyla. Just thinking about it.
I just had to figure out how to unmute myself. Well, I noticed as the water heights changed, her gait definitely changed. And at one point I saw her around the hawk height, she started to rush a little bit for at least a few steps, almost like she got a little bit concerned, and then she got settled back into like more of a working gait. That's what I noticed.
I heard that same thing, and what I heard them do was they brought it down one speed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
like they slowed her down?
Yeah, they slowed her down one. So she got a little rushy and a little nervous. And so Kayla went ahead, and I heard, because I can hear like the tread, and it slowed down one. And I was like, oh, that was good. Like they saw that she was struggling a little bit and wasn't getting that rhythm going. And she did seem to rush a little bit. Okay, so they're starting to drain. So yes, I agree with you. There was that little rushing moment. And so then they went ahead and slowed her down. Yeah, that was a great observation. I noticed that she wasn't stepping evenly with her hind legs.
It was a little hard to see from our angle, I think.
Yeah, let me come back. Hold on. Brittany, I'm gonna go right where you are.
That's exactly what my barrel horse is doing right now, Katie.
So to me, she's stepping harder with this one, the left hind.
Yeah.
It's a little more stabby. The range of motion is getting better on that left hind, but it's not as fluid as the right hind.
Right.
We'll watch her drain, and then we'll watch her unload as well. And then we can talk about it some more. Now comes the patience part for her. Good girl. Nice. So good. Good girl, Monroe. Hi, yeah, I think you did great too. Yes, you're such a good girl. Awesome. Good job. Perfect. I don't think we need to do Ollie. They were both really good examples. All right, I'll bring you go first. We'll follow Monroe. All right. So, to me, she was stabbier with, let's see, if I'm her, I'll go this way. No, if I'm her, I'm this way. That left hind, the range of motion was not as great as the right hind, and that left hind just came down in a stabbier motion. So even if we didn't know that the left hind, we were thinking there was a possible injury there, that on the tread would help me see that that left hind does not have as good of a range of motion as the right hind, and it is weaker, or there is some sort of pain pattern going on in there, because when you hear or you see kind of that quick stabby step down, it means they're not having the muscle or the fluidity to kind of bring it down like she is on the right. Her front end looked pretty even to me. So I'm happy with how her front end looks. And ultimately, with her kind of working on her fitness as a whole, because she is sound now, that left hind weakness will probably take time. Along with, we are lasering it, magna-waving it, and she's on the VitaFloor as well. So I think that's helping with rehabbing whatever is going on back there also. So this morning she had her left and right glutes and hamstrings lasered before she did the water tread. So let's go ahead. Yeah, given the time, why don't we open it up to questions that you have regarding loading and unloading on the water tread, or anything you saw today with Colina or Monroe, that you have questions on that you want me to explain more on, or explain differently?
I have one.
Sure.
I just had a horse and I actually had to send her home because I didn't know what else to do, because she loaded great. She was go on, no problem, not scared, but she wouldn't stop and she would just go right off. And if I'd put my hand, like, I don't have the aqua pacer, so I'm not outside of the treadmill with them. I'm in there with them when I walk through. And
You don't have the loading and unloading ramp. Yes.
right. And so, but if I put my hand on her chest to try to like help stop her, like, she's 17 hands, warm blood, and she would just push through me faster.
Mhm.
And there was nothing I could do to stop her. I even tried some like Dormagel to kind of sedate her a little bit, just to calm her brain. And she just didn't raise her head as high and still just went right through me. Like, there was nothing I could do to stop her. When she's out of the treadmill, she almost stops with your body. She's like fingertip soft on the head, like, she's super good. But as soon as she gets in there, she doesn't even really panic. She just chooses not to stay in.
Right.
And we have a chest bar in ours, and so we did try the chest bar to see if that would kind of help. And then she started trotting through the treadmill.
Oh,
So
so she went faster to try and push through that, what you put out.
yes. So I don't know if you've experienced that before, if you have any other suggestions, or if maybe, there are just some horses that, I don't know.
I think you're at a disadvantage having to walk through. So
Yeah.
I think that puts you in a situation where you have to be more self-aware of a horse having to stop, because otherwise they're going to run you over.
Right.
They're just going to run through you and you can't get out of the way. So I think that is a piece that, like, yes, you have to be more cognizant of that. I think the other thing is, one thing that comes to mind that we've tried is actually loading them, not to tread them, just to play with their brain, loading them from the exit and bringing them through the opposite direction, and seeing, is it that she's very, like, like, I'd almost call it like gate sour, like,
Right.
that tendency to want to go back to home, or he or she, is the horse just running through? And so sometimes by switching up and going backwards, I'm going to call it backwards through the tread, we all of a sudden start playing with their brains and they
Right.
aren't sure which way is going home,
Right.
if that makes
Yep.
any sense. And so that is a kind of trick that I've used that has helped stop them from running through. So it is
Okay.
something you could try. Now,
Yeah.
with that horse in particular, maybe it wouldn't have worked, because if you on the ground could get her to back up and get her to stop, then
Yeah.
she has that skill set. So then it might just be that, I mean, I agree with you. I think it wasn't wrong to try and sedate her a little bit and see if you could get her brain to slow down the processing of it. Going in backwards is one thing I would try. That's a hard one, because you have to walk through with them. That my brain goes to like, because if they run out and we're on the stand, it's not fun, but we're not going to get run over, you know?
Right.
And so it takes away that whole risk factor there. I think putting up the chest bar was smart. She really is worried about that flight response of getting out, you know?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is those horses usually don't want to even get in. So it's surprising
Right.
that she'll get in, but then her wanting to get out is so strong. What worries me, and where I think you were probably right, is that if she had that strong of a reaction to just having to stand there, if you ever closed the door, she was going to get out. And then
Yeah.
cleans up and out.
Exactly. She wouldn't stand for more than 3 seconds. And then she was never shaking. She wasn't really nervous or anything. She just chose not to stay. And because she was so big, she just didn't have to.
Correct. And that
And
size
stuff.
piece does go into it. And I do think that that's sometimes where you're like, you know, I don't know if I have the capabilities for this one. It might take me more time.
Yeah.
If she was one that was like kind of treat motivated, you could try being
I
like,
did try.
okay, that's kind of one of those occasions that I'll be like, yeah, let's see if we can distract you with, you know, a carrot or even something that'll take you a little bit to chew, just so you understand you can stand here.
Right.
Other than going in backwards, I think that's a rough one to move forward with, because you're only going to contain her more as you go.
Exactly. Okay.
And you can't safely get out of the way. So then you're kind of stuck there. So I think you made a good decision, honestly. I think that was
Yeah.
wise. But yeah, going
It
in
was-
backwards is definitely something I've worked on with the horses that are just very like, want to get back to the gate kind of idea. Want to
Right.
get back home, that kind of piece. And it
Well,
does.
and it's another way to like troubleshoot what the horse's mental state is, at least. Then at least you can understand a little bit more to help you make, again, just like another good decision. Because that's what I told the owners too. She came with a lot of baggage in the past
Okay.
and stuff, and they've worked through a lot of it, and she's really good now, but she's still, I mean, it's still some fundamental, I think, issues that she's dealing with. And then yeah, the owners are really good about it and stuff. And I tried for like 7 sessions on the treadmill trying, and
Yeah.
we never got past stopping for more than 3 seconds. And I just said, like, I don't think I can contain her more, because she's just going to come out when she wants, and then really bad things can happen. So
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the risk of it is not outweighing the benefit that she could get.
right.
And I think, yeah, I think that's where you have to make a decision. Like, is this the best use of your financial resources, my time, her time? And is it worth the risk that she could hurt herself? Because she
Yeah.
feels so strongly about getting out.
Right.
Yeah. Does anyone else have anything they've done with a horse like that? Shalise, Christy, or Kelly? That's kind of the best ideas I have. That was a really good question. Does anyone else have any questions about what you guys saw today, or questions about loading or unloading? I'll grab my water and give you a second if you have one. Okay.
Oh, I have another thing I could ask.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I train my horses, I usually put them on, put the chest bar up, and get them starting to learn how to walk. And then I start closing doors and playing with water. Do you always do it the same way you just did it, or do you ever do it that way? Because it's just backwards from what I do, and I just Yeah.
I think your way is not wrong in any way, shape, or form. I don't like using chest bars.
Mhm.
I just, I feel like they lean on them.
Yes.
So I've kind of taken those out of the equation. There are some horses that, again, those like big horses that want to kind of like lean on you or lean forward, where I like having that up. And so I will use it as a tool sometimes. My issue with running it with the doors open is that I just feel like it entices them to leave. Like in my brain and kind of how, because I have done that or tried that with certain horses, and I just feel like when I teach them that the doors close, I know that I've taken away their thought process from leaving or trying to leave. And so my worry was always like, if I start the tread and if I start it with the water and they blow through that chest bar, is it going to cause more injury of them running off of it while the tread is going? You know, even with a small amount of water, just the fact that they're going to slip on their way out, it gives them an out. But I almost, in my thought was like, I want to train them to the idea that once they're relaxed on there, like there is no out. Like going out isn't an option, because we've already learned you can get on here relaxed, you can get off relaxed, you're calm. So that's kind of my thought process on why I do it this way. Now, never say never, right? Like you may have a horse where it's just, yeah, you'd be better off, trying it a different way. But I have just continually had success with this way, that it's like I've just kind of stuck to it. And yeah, I kind of like that pattern of training. And we've been able to recreate it with so many horses and so many situations, that it's just worked really well. But that's a great question. And I'd encourage you to try it this way. Maybe for you, you like it the other way, and it's not wrong. I mean, that's where it's like, as long as you're doing everything thoughtfully and safely, try it.
Right.
It's just another
Yeah.
way you could try.
I think that's interesting because I always thought like if the horse gets scared with the water coming up, their feet aren't moving, so they will move them. And then when they're standing still, it's always scary because you never know what direction they're going to go.
Yes.
And that's, I think, where my fundamentals of if their feet are moving forward, chances are they might just go forward a little faster, but if you can keep them moving, their brain thinks. And so I was always scared to do it that way because in the salt spa, they get sometimes pretty scared because they can't move their feet.
And
So
let's
I was
say
interested.
I have a horse. So my horse actually, I don't think, like, he is scared of like bubble baths. Like he gets scared when there's bubbles on like a dark mat.
Right.
Scared of bubble baths. And so like just the stuff that they're scared of. And he's like 18 hands. He's huge. So the bubbles scare him on the mats. So anything below him, he gets a little nervous about. So I wonder a little bit about vision with him. So when we introduced the water and he was not moving, he didn't like that. Like it did not work. So with that one, I still did the doors closed because he would get on with no problem. He didn't mind the doors
Right.
closed. He didn't care about any of that. I only had it where the tread was just moderately wet, even when him getting on. And
Right.
then I started moving it, having him walk, and I just introduced the water once he was comfortable walking. He was one,
Okay.
like, he could not handle the idea of getting used to the water because he already had a predisposed issue with things being below him that have to do with water. So that's one where I didn't just have him stand and learn about the water. We tried that for a little bit, and that didn't work. So then it was like, okay, he has to be moving in order for the water to be added. And when he's moving though, the doors are closed. So we did do it with him where he just treaded. Actually, I think we might have done a whole session that he just treaded with just the belt being wet. So that is, I mean, again, for each one, you got to make it work for them, right? And his issue was with water and if it's being below him. So like, well, let's get his brain working and get him walking. And he was one where his hind end, he'd kind of hump it up and be like shaky. So I knew he was scared, and that his thought process was like, he's one that I think would just like stop walking and kind of crumple down versus trying to jump out. Because he was just so scared, he kind of locked up. But once he got moving and he understood the moving, then the water kind of just added and we just got him over that hump and he did great with it. So yeah, it's so different, but to me, it's about that beginning, laying the good framework of them getting on
Right.
quietly, waiting and getting off quietly. And then the doors closing and then the doors locking, like the idea that we're just building upon it each time. And then feeling empowered as each element comes in that they're safe.
Right.
Nothing's a
That's
surprise.
cool. I'm glad you did it that way because like it will be something that I might try with some horses too, especially some that, you know, maybe they don't need as much movement till you get them deeper in water
Right.
and stuff like that. Like that's a very beneficial thing to be able to do.
Totally. And just try it. See, you know what I mean? Like play around with it. That's kind of how I figured all this out at the beginning was there wasn't anyone helping me out. And
Right.
I tried things and sometimes they went well and sometimes they didn't. But then I learned something and I tried it another way. And then this is something that, you know, doing it the way we're doing it has just worked for so long and has been able to be recreated, which for me, when we're working in different facilities with different setups and different types of horses and breeds and disciplines, it's nice to have something that we can kind of lean on that is consistent.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Great questions. Anybody else? I'm here for you. Okay, well, I'll stay on for about 5-10 minutes after I stop recording for any questions you guys have. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you have any questions for me or want more information, you can always reach out to me. My email address is unbridledequine2@gmail.com. And you can also go to my website, unbridled-equine.com, and check anything out that you want. We'll have another webinar. Let's see, it's March, April, May. Probably on a Thursday, third Thursday-ish. We'll send you a date in May. Let me know if there's a topic you want to cover. And if you liked the live demos, we can do more of those. I love anything you guys want. I'm happy to present on it. So let me know what you need and keep on having fun, water treading your horses and taking care of your horses. I appreciate you joining me today. Thanks so much.